So let's talk about the big bad Vashtorr box that's coming out this weekend. Is the Wrath of the Soulforged King a good deal or not? Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought we'd take a focused look at Vashtorr's new box set. The Wrath of the Soulforged King has Vashtorr fighting against Azrael, tying in with their narrative of defending the rock, and it's going to be the first place to get both Mr. Vashtorr and Azrael if you wanted to add them to your collections. Games Workshop does seem to like using new miniatures to encourage the sales of big box sets these days. Perhaps a little bit annoying if you just wanted one of these miniatures individually and you weren't really bothered about the rest. But in this video I thought we'd take a look through the box set, talk about the value of the contents inside, and whether or not it's looking a good deal, at least in Games Workshop's terms. First up, we do know the price of the box set already. It's going to be £130, €170 or $210 US. This seems to be the new price for Games Workshop's standard Battle Force sets, where you get a whole load of miniatures. And even if it does represent a decent discount compared with what they'd sell them as separately, it still feels like a fairly high asking price. In the box set, you get two forces, the Chaos led by Vashtorr versus the Dark Angels led by Azrael. The set's going up for pre-order on the 11th of March, and then anything that hasn't already been snapped up in pre-orders will go up for full sale on the 18th. I'm certain that this box set will be a limited run, it's not going to be a permanent addition to the range or anything like that, and it's unclear whether or not Games Workshop will sell these out very quickly or not. It can be a bit hit and miss with their big box sets like this. The popular ones can go very quickly indeed, but otherwise ones that don't sell out their initial run quickly could be around for a while. Either way, if you're absolutely certain that you do want to be getting this, I'll probably try and pre-order it sometime close to when it goes live. It often tends to be around 10 AM in your local time zone, though it might vary a little bit place to place. Here's the full list of the contents in the box set, then we'll go through them individually. On the Chaos side, we've got Vashtorr himself, 2 Obliterators and a Venom Crawler, 10 Chaos Cultists, and they're fighting against Azrael with 10 Intercessors, 5 Deathwing Terminators, and for a few more Dark Angels bits they get 2 copies of the Upgrade Sprue and Dark Angels Transfers. In the split between the two armies, I feel like they're fairly similar in terms of points on the board that you get for the cost. Perhaps the Chaos side is a little bit more valuable in terms of the models there, depends how much you value the Dark Angels Upgrade Sprues. Before we go through the contents individually, I thought I'd just mention that this box set will be the subject of the Warspets Tactics channel giveaway in April. There'll be 4 copies of the Soulforged King box set going out, each to one winner. If you wanted to enter for the giveaway, there's 2 different ways. You can either support the channel on Patreon for any amount, that's linked down in the video description, and it does keep these videos coming. Or otherwise, there is an equal free way to enter. Support on social media by subscribing to the YouTube channel and liking the Facebook page, and then the actual entry for the draw on Facebook is done on the 1st of April. A giveaway post appears, just reply to that giveaway post with a picture of any 40k miniature with your name and the date handwritten within the photo. That last bit just to deter Facebook bots and spammers. Then when all the entries are in, Facebook and Patreon, I do the draw with a random number generator, and that's announced on the channel update video that appears around the 4th of the month. If you want to support the channel on Patreon or check out the Facebook page, both are linked down in the video description, and there'll certainly be further similar giveaways coming every month. Going through each of the models quickly, first up we've got Vashtorr himself. I feel like for most people out there he's easily going to be the biggest draw for the box. I think that people quite like his lore. Plus his rather nice and creepy new model that's a combination of sacrificed flesh and machine parts. Games Workshop showed off his rules the other day, his 260 points, and I must admit perhaps his rules are a little bit simple looking and not all that powerful compared with what I might have expected. It seems that Games Workshop, when moving towards 10th edition, is looking at some fairly slimmed down datasheets, and it did mean that he didn't really get all that many exciting command abilities or buffs and things, particularly for a god of machines. If you're playing Arcs of Omen as well, he can only be used in Chaos Space Marine armies at the moment, though you could include him as an auxiliary support in Chaos Knights or Demons or something if you're not playing the Arcs of Omen game mode. For pricing for Vashtorr, I'm really uncertain as to what Games Workshop would go for. My estimate will be somewhere around £65, €85 or $110, though I think it could easily be either below or above that. For a bit of reference, the newer Demon Prince they came out with, he's about £50, and the Catan Shard of the Void Dragon, maybe a similar sort of scale miniature, he's £75. I would say that the eventual price that Vashtorr turns out to be is quite likely to skew how good this box set is in hindsight. I feel like this is a fairly reasonable estimate for him though, given what Games Workshop usually charges. Otherwise for Chaos, there's the sprue that has the 2 Obliterators and the Venom Crawler on it. This one's the Warp Forged one that's now only available direct from Games Workshop, Previously, it was in that Start Collecting Chaos Space Marine box set that went out of print. This one's usually £45 or $75. It is quite nice to see it discounted, to be honest. In terms of money for the points from Games Workshop, this one really isn't too bad. Almost 300 points worth of models on the board just here. They definitely fit in well with Vashtorr, I guess. In-game, the Obliterators are a bit so-so at the moment, I'd say, but the Venom Crawler often appears in competitive lists, kind of handy for buffing Psychers, as well as being a good general purpose threat in itself. Finally, for the Chaos, there's a bunch of 10 Cultists, £30, €40 or $50 from Games Workshop, maybe a bit on the expensive side for mere mortal horde followers. They're definitely helpful enough to have around in Chaos Space Marine lists, though, just some objective secured grunts to sit on objectives and do actions and things. On the Dark Angels side, perhaps the biggest draw to the box is new Azrael. He's had his new Primaris resculpt, with the Watcher in the Dark modelled onto his base, still bearing that lion helm. I think for the most part people quite like the miniature. A fairly faithful resculpt of the previous one, but newer, bigger, and in shiny plastic, rather than the very ancient metal kit that he had. My guess would be that when he comes out individually, he's probably going to be expensive, going by High Marshal Helbrecht to just feel pretty equivalent in terms of stature and the base. He's £32.50, €42.50, or $55, so I'd guess that Azrael is probably going to be on the same sort of level as that. Might be a little bit cheaper perhaps, but I feel like Games Workshop are probably going to keep their chapter masters fairly similar priced. With his new datasheet, he's now up to 170 points in game, up from 140. I still say that he's a pretty competitive choice for the Dark Angels, though they do have some serious competition for HQ slots with how many good choices they have. He provides the full Chapter Master rerolls, a couple of command points, and a rather interesting invul save bubble. The new datasheet update made him into a far better general purpose combatant as well, with the sword being damage 3 and strength 7, though he didn't really help him out too much on the buffing front. Otherwise for the Dark Angels, there's 10 intercessors, plus 2 copies of the Dark Angels upgrade sprue, the one that you can see here with the shoulder pads, plus some Gravis pads, and a power sword and a few bits. I think intercessors really hurt to have in a box set. It depends on how many you actually have within your army as to whether or not they're wasted value or not. I feel like quite a few people who collected throughout 8th edition probably have a very decent amount of them already. The upgrade sprues have always felt just a little bit questionable value for what you get for the money. If you do want stylized Dark Angel shoulder pads and things though, then they are an option. Finally, we've got 5 Deathwing Terminators, very good in game currently for the Dark Angels with their transhuman physiology, and currently free gear like the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield plus the Cyclone missile launchers. This kit could also be assembled as the Deathwing Knights or Deathwing Command Squad as well, building things like the Apothecary or Ancient. These guys are £37.50, €50 or $60. Quite cool to see an actual Dark Angels kit in the box. Games Workshop have been really quite reluctant to put non-Primaris stuff in boxes before, and to be honest, this is kind of good to see. I guess if they're selling these in the big box set, it probably means that we aren't getting Primaris Deathwing Terminator equivalents being released anytime soon. There were a few rumours of some sort of Primaris Terminator coming out in 10th edition. Putting it all together though, how much of a good deal is this box set looking for the price that Games Workshop charges for it? First up, I would certainly bear in mind that if you're not able to either use both halves of the box set, or you don't have someone to split it with or resell it, it is likely to have a fair bit less value to you. There's maybe not too much value to be had in big discounts if you're just buying a bunch of miniatures that you wouldn't have ever bought anyway. However, presuming you either do want the models in the box set, or you're able to split or resell it, it looks like roughly in terms of miniature price, you'd expect something around £270 or $440 out of this, at least if you bought every single kit from Games Workshop separately. That would actually mean that the on-paper theoretical discount of the box set is actually kind of good, around about half off compared with what Games Workshop might sell these for separately. Though I would probably bear in mind that that's a best case scenario estimate, I think. I did include at least reasonably high estimates for the characters that might actually be a little bit cheaper. Plus that is including the Dark Angels upgrade sprues, which I always feel are kind of passable value for what they bring. At least in theory though, I guess you could always resell the upgrade sprues online if you wanted to, and recoup their value back that way if you didn't necessarily want the sculpted Dark Angels bits and you'd rather have the saving. If that discount estimate is anywhere near accurate though, then this is a very good box set compared with Games Workshop's normal standards. Usually their discounts tend to range in the 30 to 40% range compared with what they sell separately. And if you wanted to pick up these figures in hindsight, this would probably look like a good deal, at least I would guess. Even if you don't count the discount sprues and Vashtorr turns out being cheaper, then it's still going to add up to an okay discount off from Games Workshop standards. In terms of points in the box here, you get roughly 1,100 points, around about 5.4 points per dollar here, and again that's actually really quite good from Games Workshop's normal standards. Usually for a lot of troops box sets and things you might expect somewhere around 3 to 4. I guess Vashtorr's quite points intensive himself, and otherwise a lot of points in the set comes from the Dark Angels, Deathwing and Intercessors, which aren't too bad a ratio to start with, plus particularly that Warpforged set with the Venom Crawler and the Obliterators. Again, they're both quite points intensive compared with how much they cost. Overall, as for Games Workshop versus boxes go, I would be broadly positive about this one compared with some of their rest. I think it's much better than, say, that Shadow Throne box set where it was Genestealer Cults versus Custodes. Both the discounts and the points that you get in the box are both really quite good. Obviously, as I said before, it does depend on you actually wanting the miniatures here. If you don't want or you're not able to use half of them, it's still not going to be that great, and it is kind of annoying if you either just wanted Azrael or Vashtorr. I'd guess they probably won't see an individual release for a month or two. On the other hand, it might mean a few of the other contents of the boxes going a bit cheaper on eBay in the near future for people who just wanted the character miniatures and are selling off some of the rest. In any case, let me know your thoughts on the box set. Would you be tempted to pick up one of these or not? And how good a deal do you think it would be for people who do want these miniatures? If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the news and rumours coming of Games Workshop's upcoming releases. I'll post 40k videos just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention the channel's Patreon page once more. It is what allows me to keep on making videos like this quite so regularly, and if you are enjoying a lot, then any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, including automatic entry into the monthly giveaways each month, the chance to get Vashtorr a lot cheaper than normal, but there's also a bunch of other stuff, including seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.